My female coworker held her lower belly and leaned over my cubicle. Her voice was barely a whisper. Chloe, there are a few boxes of files in the basement archive. Can you come help me carry them? In my past life, I was too soft-hearted. I went with her. Half an hour later, she lay in the pool of her own blood in the emergency stairwell. Blood soaked half the hallway. When she woke up in the hospital, she cried and pointed at me. Chloe forced me to carry those heavy boxes. She pushed me. I was fired, sued, and bankrupted. My father suffered a fatal heart attack from the stress, my mother went insane, and I eventually jumped off the roof of our office building. It was only after my death that I found out she had 8 sugar daddies at the same time. Her pregnancy was already doomed due to multiple previous abortions. This time, I sat firmly in my chair and didn't budge. You're pregnant, Bella. You shouldn't be lifting heavy things. I picked up my phone and opened our department's main Snapchat group. Let me get you some help. I typed out a message, Bella is pregnant. She needs male colleagues to help retrieve files from the basement archive. Elevator use only. I hit send. The office instantly went dead silent. Bella's face froze. The administrative supervisor, Sarah, replied in the chat, on it. HR followed up immediately. I will confirm the safety protocols for pregnant employees right now. Bella opened her mouth, flustered. You didn't have to tell everyone. I looked her straight in the eye. You're pregnant, Bella. It's not safe for you to go alone. In my past life, she led me into that blind spot in the stairwell where there were no security cameras. In this life, I was going to make sure she walked a path under the watchful eyes of everyone. Bella bit her lower lip, her eyes turning red. Chloe, I just wanted you to walk down with me. I didn't say I was going to make you do all the lifting. I put my phone back on the desk. You literally just said, come help me carry them. Her face turned pale. I must have phrased it wrong. No worries, I smiled. That's why I'm helping you follow the official safety procedures. She stared at me. The look in her eyes lasted only a fraction of a second. It was too quick for anyone else to notice the pure hatred in it. A few seconds later, she put on her victim face again. Are you still mad at me because I didn't finish editing the project proposal last time? I know my efficiency went down after I got pregnant, but I really didn't mean to drag the team down. Emma Jenkins immediately whispered to comfort her, Bella, don't overthink it. Chloe is probably just looking out for you. Tyler Carter sneered. Looking out for her by blasting her pregnancy in the main group? Pregnant women deserve some privacy, don't they? I looked up at him. Then you go carry the boxes, Tyler. Tyler choked on his words. I didn't say I wouldn't. Just then, Sarah, the admin supervisor, walked over pushing a utility cart. Sarah glanced at Bella and said politely, Bella, you don't need to go down there. Just email me the file names and box numbers, and we'll get them. Pregnant staff are not allowed in the archive room or to lift heavy loads. That's company policy. Bella stood there, totally paralyzed. I added, since those files contain bidding drafts, please log the box numbers and take photos of them for the record. Sarah nodded. Right. Bidding documents must have a clear paper trail. Bella's expression grew even uglier. She didn't actually want the files. She wanted me alone with her in the basement, in the emergency stairwell where the security cameras had been broken for 3 months. In my past life, she fell there. No one saw it. So whatever she said became the absolute truth. She said I pushed her. I said I didn't. The company asked me for proof. I had none. In this life, I would never go to any secluded spot with her again. Bella lowered her head and sent the file details to Sarah. After Sarah left with her team, Bella remained standing by my desk. After a long silence, she whispered, Chloe, you seem so guarded against me now. I opened the meeting minutes on my screen without even looking up. A paper trail in the workplace protects you, and it protects me. At 3 p.m., the files were delivered to the conference room. Sarah posted the photos in the chat group. Every step of the process was perfectly documented. No one could find a single flaw. Before leaving work, Bella posted an update on her Snapchat story. It was a picture of a hospital hallway. The caption read, I'm so sorry, sweetie. Mommy tried her best. Within 10 minutes, her comments section blew up. What's wrong, Bella? Did the company make you work overtime again? Being pregnant at work is so hard. Sending hugs. Bella replied to all of them with, I'm fine. I just don't want to be a burden to anyone. I stared at that sentence for 2 seconds, took a screenshot, and saved it. Then I turned off my phone. Bella wasn't going to stop. She wanted my spot for the European relocation program. And she wanted to find a scapegoat for the baby she was already bound to lose. Sure enough, she didn't show up for work the next day. On the third day, the HR director, Miranda Blake, sent me a message. Chloe, come to conference room 3 immediately. When I pushed open the door to conference room 3, Bella was sitting on the sofa by the window. Her face was paper white, and her eyes were swollen as if she had cried all night. Sitting next to her was her husband, Marcus Vance. In my past life, this man leaked my home address online and screamed at the camera, calling me a baby killer. To raise money for the settlement, my father went to the bank to beg for a loan. He suffered a massive heart attack and collapsed right outside the bank doors. Later, Marcus said in his live stream, "I just wanted justice for my child. I didn't know her father would die." He didn't know. How convenient. Miranda sat at the head of the table with several documents in front of her. Chloe, Bella has reported you for severe workplace bullying and abusive management behavior. I pulled out a chair and sat down. Be specific. Hearing this, Bella immediately burst into tears. Chloe, I really didn't want things to come to this. I looked at her. Then you don't have to make a scene. Her crying caught in her throat. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. My wife just had a miscarriage, and this is your attitude? I looked at him. A miscarriage is tragic. But tragedy is not evidence of a crime. You. Miranda frowned. Mr. Vance, please calm down first. Then, she slid a medical report over to me. Bella had vaginal bleeding 2 nights ago. The hospital diagnosed it as a natural miscarriage following embryonic demise. I flipped the page. It was written clearly there. Embryonic demise. The baby had stopped developing. I put the paperwork back on the desk. So, what does that have to do with me? Bella covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking violently as she sobbed. You didn't go to the archives with me that day, but the night before, you forced me to revise the project proposal until midnight. You also said in the break room that my pregnancy made me a drag on the team. You said if I had any decency, I would voluntarily drop out of the selection for the European relocation. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. My stomach was already hurting then, but I was too scared to say anything. I didn't want you to think I was just being dramatic. Marcus roared with bloodshot eyes, how can you treat a pregnant woman like this? Are you even human? Miranda looked at me. Chloe, did you make Bella work overtime during her pregnancy? No. Did you use abusive language to trigger her? No. Did you exclude and target her because of the competition for the European relocation? I laughed. Miranda, are you investigating, or are you helping her rehearse her testimony? Miranda's face darkened. Watch your tone, Chloe. The company is dealing with a major incident involving a pregnant employee's miscarriage. As the project lead, you must cooperate. I will cooperate. I turned on my phone's voice recorder. Please continue. I need a record of this too. Miranda stared at my phone, her frown deepening. Chloe, internal company discussions are not to be recorded. Then please send me a formal written notice. She was speechless. Bella sobbed, Chloe, why do you have to be like this? I just lost my baby. I'm not trying to ruin you. I looked at her. Then why is every single word out of your mouth pointing the finger at me? The glass doors of the conference room weren't soundproof. Soon, notifications started popping up in our office gossip chats. My phone kept buzzing. I screenshotted every single one of them. Miranda placed a temporary suspension notice in front of me. Effective immediately, your authority as project lead is suspended. I asked, before the investigation is even finished, you're already handing out punishments. Miranda said coldly, this is risk control. Risk control. In my past life, they used those 2 words to reduce me from a human being to trash. Fine, I stood up. Please send this via email. Copy legal, compliance, and me. Marcus sneered, still thinking about suing the company? I stared at him. If anyone defames me, covers up the truth, or passes judgment before a proper trial, I won't let a single one of them off the hook. Bella's crying quieted down. But I saw it. Behind the tissue covering her face, the corners of her mouth curved up slightly. By afternoon, the company's anonymous online forum was on fire. The post didn't mention my name. But every keyword, department, project, relocation, pregnant, miscarriage, hit me right in the face. The comments section exploded faster than a powder keg. I screenshotted the thread from the first page to the last. 10 minutes later, my access to the project management system was revoked. Tyler Carter was now listed as the lead for the European Energy Grid project. My application status for the European relocation turned gray. I stared at the screen. I felt absolutely nothing. I had already walked this path once in my past life. Except back then, I was desperately trying to explain myself, begging people to check the security cameras, trying to prove to every colleague that I didn't push her. But they only asked me one thing. Bella wouldn't lie about losing her baby, would she? But yes, she would. In the evening, Emma Jenkins walked over with my coffee mug. She placed it on the corner of my desk and said softly, "Chloe, maybe you shouldn't leave your mug in the break room for the next few days." I looked up. Why? Embarrassment flashed across her face. Everyone's a bit tense right now. You know, the miscarriage thing. It's a very sensitive topic. So even my mug is toxic now? She bit her lip. That's not what I meant. Tyler spun around in his chair. Chloe, can you stop being so aggressive? Bella lost her baby. Is it so wrong for everyone to be a little cautious? I looked at him. Are you afraid my mug will make you miscarry too? His face flushed red. You're twisting my words. Then explain to me why my personal belongings can't be in the common area. The office suddenly fell dead silent. Because everyone always preferred to stand on the side that felt safer. At 7 p.m., Miranda called me into the conference room again. This time, a mutual separation agreement was laid out on the table. Severance pay, 0. Confidentiality clauses, 12. After scanning through it, I looked up at her. Miranda, is this a separation agreement or a hush money contract? Miranda was expressionless. The company is offering you a way to leave with dignity. 0 severance is what you call dignity? If you don't sign, Bella's family will sue you. The company will also terminate your contract based on our investigation. It won't look good on your resume. She paused, softening her tone. Chloe, you're talented. It won't be hard for you to start fresh at another company. In my past life, I believed her. I thought if I just left the company, everything would blow over. But the moment I left, the company pinned all the blame on me. Bella and Marcus used my signature on the agreement to claim that I admitted my guilt out of fear. During the lawsuit, that very agreement became one of the final nails in my coffin. This time, I pushed the agreement back. I'm not signing. Miranda narrowed her eyes. Chloe, don't burn your bridges. I smiled slightly. I didn't burn the bridge. You guys are trying to push me off it. As I walked out of the conference room, I saw Marcus talking on the phone at the end of the hallway. He was shouting. Yeah, she refuses to apologize. My wife might never be able to get pregnant again. This abusive manager needs to be exposed to the public. He saw me and glared at me with pure venom. I took out my phone and tapped the record button right in front of his face. Keep talking. His face froze. I walked right past him. Behind me, Bella started sobbing again. It felt like a perfectly rehearsed play. The next morning, my cubicle had been cleared out. I stood there, staring at it for a long time. Emma came out of the break room. Seeing me, her face turned pale. Chloe, I didn't do this. I asked, who touched my things? She stammered, everyone was just worried that the media might come and take photos. They didn't want people saying the company doesn't care about pregnant employees, so they packed up the controversial items first. Controversial items. My mug. My pens. The small plant on my desk. Everything of mine had become controversial. Tyler walked out of a meeting room and said coldly, Chloe, are you really going to make a fuss about this now? Bella is literally sobbing in her hospital bed right now. I turned to him. So that gives you the right to go through my stuff? I didn't touch your stuff. Then who did? He went quiet. I took my things out of the cardboard box, piece by piece, and put them back where they belonged. At 10 a.m., a company-wide email was sent out. Subject, mandatory training on pregnancy protection and workplace ethics. It was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the main auditorium. Attendance was mandatory for all staff. I stared at the email, my finger resting on the mouse. In my past life, the company had also put me on public trial in the main auditorium. They called it corporate values alignment. But it was actually a public execution. At 1:55 p.m., I walked into the auditorium. A sign with my name on it was taped to the center seat of the very front row. It was a custom-made defendant's box just for me. Whispers erupted behind me. She actually showed up. Bella is in the hospital, and she's walking around like nothing happened. How thick-skinned can you get? If I were her, I would have resigned already. I sat down, started my phone's voice recorder, and synced the file to my cloud storage. On the stage, Miranda stood in a sharp black suit. The giant screen behind her read, caring for pregnant employees, upholding workplace standards. She picked up the microphone, her voice filled with heavy solemnity. Recently, a regrettable incident involving an employee's health occurred at our office. According to our preliminary findings, certain management staff showed unprofessional communication, unreasonable task allocation, and a severe lack of empathy toward a pregnant colleague. She didn't say, allegedly. She didn't say, pending investigation. Her gaze fell directly on me. The company has decided to suspend Chloe Miller from her role as project lead. Her nomination for the European relocation is revoked. Her annual stock options are frozen. We will proceed with the termination of her employment contract in accordance with the final investigation results. A collective gasp echoed through the auditorium. Someone whispered, termination makes sense. They didn't fire her immediately. The company is being pretty merciful. Miranda continued, at the same time, the company hopes Chloe Miller will reflect on her actions, issue a formal apology to Bella and her family, and take full responsibility. As she finished speaking, Marcus helped Bella stand up from her seat. They walked slowly toward the stage. Miranda, may I say a few words? Bella asked. Miranda nodded. Bella faced the audience, tears streaming down her face. I don't want to ruin Chloe. She is highly capable, and I've always looked up to her. Maybe the project stress was just too high, which is why she said those things to me and gave me those tasks. She covered her lower belly, her body trembling with sobs. But my baby is gone. If she is willing to sincerely apologize to my lost child, I will not pursue this further. She stood on the stage like a saintly victim. And I had already been nailed to the cross of guilt. Before the applause could even die down, I stood up. Miranda's face darkened instantly. Chloe, this is not an open Q&A session. I pulled out my phone. Then I'll dial 911 and let the police listen to this. Her expression changed. The head of the legal department in the front row quickly stood up, walked over to Miranda, and whispered a few words in her ear. Miranda stared at me, her eyes like daggers. I met her gaze. A few seconds later, she said coldly, you have 5 minutes. I plugged my phone into the projector system. The folder name flashed onto the giant screen. The Saintly Victims Playbook. I clicked open. First to appear on the screen was a contact list with notes. The first line read, Sugar Daddy Charles. Underneath it, there were 7 more names. Bella's face drained of all color instantly. The tissue in her hand slipped and fell to the stage floor. The silence that fell over the auditorium was so heavy you could hear the hum of the projector overhead. Bella's hands began to shake violently. The crumpled tissue dropped from her fingers, fluttering down onto the floor of the stage. Next to her, Marcus blinked, his brow furrowed as his eyes scanned the screen, trying to make sense of the text files, spreadsheet columns, and embedded chat logs. What is this? Marcus demanded, his voice cracking. What kind of sick stunt are you pulling, Chloe? Turn it off. Miranda snapped, her composure shattering into jagged pieces. She lunged toward the tech pod at the side of the stage, shouting at the IT technician. Cut the feed. Turn off the projector right now. Don't bother, I said smoothly into my lapel mic, my voice echoing through every speaker in the room. I've already broadcast the folder link to the company-wide distribution list. Check your phones, everyone. It's in your inbox. Under Workplace Safety and Ethics Documentation. A chorus of soft chimes and buzzes erupted across the auditorium as hundreds of phones lit up simultaneously. The IT guy, sweating profusely under Miranda's glare, pressed a series of buttons, but the screen stayed frozen on the spreadsheet. I had uploaded the mirror files onto the cloud server 20 minutes before walking through those double doors. Let's start with file 01, I said, tapping my phone screen to advance the slide. A set of bank statements appeared, highlighted in bright yellow. Bella Vance, or Bella Lynn, as she goes by on her secondary bank accounts, received 6 wire transfers over the past 8 months totaling $140,000. The senders include Charles M., Arthur K., and David P., several of whom happen to be senior consultants for our vendor partners. The crowd gasped. Heads turned in the crowd as people began whispering furiously. Chloe, this is illegal. Miranda screamed, her face flushed red. You are sharing private, unverified information. Security, clear the stage. Clear her out. 2 security guards shuffled uncomfortably near the side exit, but neither moved. They were looking at the screen. Oh, it's completely verified, I replied calmly. And it gets better. Slide 04. WhatsApp conversation between Bella and Sugar Daddy Charles's, dated 3 weeks ago. I zoomed in on the texts. The text was crystal clear. Bella, the doctor says the embryo stopped developing 2 weeks ago. I have to schedule a DNC. Charles, did you tell your idiot husband? Bella, no way. Marcus thinks everything is fine. I'm going to use this. That bitch Chloe is up for the European relocation post. If I frame her for a workplace accident or severe stress-induced miscarriage, HR will panic, suspend her, and hand the project to Tyler. Tyler already promised to share the commission with me if he gets the lead. A terrifying sound ripped through the air. It came from Marcus. He wasn't staring at me anymore. He was staring at Bella, his face drained of all color, his lips trembling in shock and confusion. Bella. Marcus whispered, his voice picking up on the open stage microphone. What is Charles? Who is Charles? Bella's eyes were wide with pure terror. She reached out to touch his arm. Marcus, honey, listen to me, she fake-edited those. It's AI. She created it with AI. AI? I smiled, clicking to the next file. Then explained this signed pathology. Report from St. Jude's Women's Hospital, dated a month ago. It clearly states. You underwent a chemical abortion procedure 6 months ago, followed by a diagnosis of severe uterine scarring that made this current pregnancy non-viable. From week 4. Your baby didn't die because of project stress, Bella. It was dead before you even asked me to help you carry those boxes in the basement. Bella staggered back, her foot catching on the hem of her long skirt. She hit the floor with a dull thud. The auditorium erupted into absolute bedlam. Colleagues were standing up on their chairs to look. Tyler Carter, who had been sitting 2 rows back, looked like he was about to vomit. He frantically pulled out his phone and started deleting messages, but I had already archived every conversation between him and Bella regarding the commission split. Marcus grabbed Bella by the shoulders, shaking her hysterically. You lied to me? The baby was already dead? You made me go on live streams? You made me yell at her? Marcus, stop, people are watching. Bella sobbed, trying to cover her face, but there was nowhere to hide. The spotlight on the stage illuminated every tear, every streak of running mascara, every ounce of her exposed deception. I turned my head toward Miranda Blake. The HR director was frozen at the edge of the stage, her mouth slightly open. The authoritative, immaculate facade she had worn for years was completely ruined. Miranda, I said into the mic, my voice slicing through the noise of the panic. You called this meeting to discuss risk control, ethics, and corporate values. You suspended me without an investigation. You tried to force me to sign a zero severance hush money agreement to protect the company from bad press, ignoring every piece of evidence I offered to provide. I pressed a button on my phone. An audio clip played through the auditorium speakers. It was Miranda's voice. From yesterday afternoon, crisp and cold. If you don't sign, Bella's family will sue you. The company will also terminate your contract based on our investigation. It won't look good on your resume. This is risk control, Chloe. The head of legal, sitting in the front row, covered his face with both hands. He knew instantly that the company was now exposed to a massive wrongful termination suit, civil conspiracy charges, and gross defamation liabilities. I have already forwarded these audio recordings, medical records, and digital evidence to the Department of Labor, the District Attorney's Office, and the Board of Directors, I said, putting my phone into my pocket. My lawyer is waiting outside. I looked around the auditorium. I saw Emma Jenkins staring at me with horror and awe. I saw Tyler trembling in his seat. I saw my colleagues, the same people who had whispered behind my back an hour ago, looking at me as if they were seeing a ghost. In my past life, this room was where my dignity died. It was where they broke my spirit, where they convinced me that I was a monster, where they set off the domino effect that killed my father and drove my mother into a psychiatric ward. In this life, I stood under the bright lights, perfectly whole, while my executioners burned in the fire they had lit for me. Meeting adjourned, I said softly. I set the microphone down on the table, picked up my bag, and walked out of the auditorium without looking back once. By 5 p.m., the corporate headquarters was in absolute lockdown. The board of directors called an emergency executive session. 2 police cruisers arrived at the building entrance, not for me, but because Marcus had completely lost control in the lobby, smashing a glass display case while screaming at Bella before being restrained by building security. I sat in a quiet coffee shop across the street from the office building, sipping a hot latte. My phone rang. It was an unlisted number. I answered it on the third ring. Chloe? It was my father's voice. Strong, calm, and completely healthy. A lump formed in my throat, but I forced a smile. Hey, Dad. How's the mountain resort? It's beautiful, sweetheart, he said, laughing softly. Your mother and I are taking a walk by the lake right now. Though I still don't understand why you insisted on buying us this week-long wellness retreat all of a sudden. And why did you make me give my phone to the front desk? Just wanted you and Mom to have a real digital detox, Dad, I said, my voice trembling slightly as I looked through the cafe window at the chaotic scene outside our office tower. No news, no work, no stress. Just rest. You're a good daughter, Chloe, my father said softly. Are things okay at the office? You sounded a bit tired when you dropped us off at the train station 2 days ago. Everything is taken care of, Dad, I breathed out, letting out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 2 lifetimes. Everything is perfectly taken care of. Enjoy your walk with Mom. I'll see you this weekend. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. In my past life, my father had suffered a fatal heart attack outside the bank, trying to raise money for my legal settlement while being hounded by internet mobs mobbed by Marcus's livestream followers. This time, before I launched my counterattack, I had used my entire savings to book my parents a secluded, luxury health package in the mountains, taking away their phones under the guise of a family gift package. They were thousands of miles away from the media storm, breathing fresh air, completely safe. My phone buzzed again. An email notification popped up. It was an official corporate email from the chairman of the board. Subject: immediate executive action and urgent request for meeting. Dear M.S. Miller. In light of the severe procedural violations, breach of corporate ethics, and misconduct revealed during today's afternoon session, the board of directors has taken the following immediate actions. 1. Miranda Blake has been relieved of her duties as HR director, pending a formal internal and legal investigation into corporate cover-ups and extortion. 2. Tyler Carter's appointment as lead for the European Energy Grid project has been immediately revoked, and his employment is suspended. 3. Bella Lynn Vance has been formally terminated and reported to law enforcement for fraud and workplace harassment. 4. Your full suspension has been lifted, with a formal company-wide public apology scheduled for broadcast tomorrow morning. The chairman and the European client delegation respectfully request an urgent private meeting with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow to discuss your reinstatement, the European relocation leadership post, and full financial restitution. I looked at the email for a few seconds. Reinstatement? Relocation post? Did they really think I did all of this just to keep a middle management corporate job? I locked my phone, put it in my coat pocket, and left the coffee shop. The air outside was crisp and cold. The evening sun cast long shadows across the concrete plaza. I looked up at the towering glass spire of the office building. The battle wasn't over. A corporate board doesn't apologize out of morality. They apologize out of fear. They wanted me back because the European client, a multi-billion-dollar German energy conglomerate, was arriving tomorrow, and I was the only person who held the full encryption keys and proprietary algorithmic models for the bidding architecture. Without me, the company would lose a $200 million contract by Friday. They thought they were offering me a golden olive branch. They had no idea I was about to strip them down to the bone. The next morning at 8:45 a.m., I walked into the executive board room on the 48th floor. The room was pristine. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooked the city skyline. Around the dark mahogany table sat 8 members of the board of directors, the executive vice president, and 3 representatives from the German energy client, led by senior partner Klaus Weber. Sitting in the corner, looking pale and utterly defeated, was Miranda Blake. She wasn't wearing her sharp suit today, her hair was pulled back loosely, and she sat next to a corporate defense lawyer. When I entered, the chairman, Arthur Vance, no relation to Marcus, stood up. Immediately. "Chloe," Arthur said, his voice dripping with warm, paternal concern. "Please. Sit down. We cannot express how deeply horrified we are by the events of the past few days. A rogue HR director and a deceitful junior employee created a toxic environment that almost ruined one of our top talents." He signaled to a staff member, who placed a set of documents in front of me. "This is a revised contract," Arthur continued. "We are offering you the position of Senior Director for the European Division, a 100% salary increase, $500,000 in immediate stock options, and a complete indemnity clause. All we ask is that you sign this, present the energy grid proposal to Mr. Weber and his team today, and settle the internal matter quietly without further public disclosure." I didn't sit down. I stayed standing at the head of the table. I glanced at Klaus Weber. The German executive was sitting calmly, watching me with sharp, intelligent eyes. "Mr. Weber," I spoke in fluent German, catching everyone in the room off guard. "Did the board inform you that the proprietary algorithm for the European energy grid project was registered under my personal copyright 3 months ago as an independent research patent, prior to its integration into the company's framework?" Arthur's face paled. "Chloe. That algorithm was developed using company resources." "No, Arthur," I replied in English, pulling a set of certified patent documents from my leather briefcase and placing them on the table. I filed the patent using my personal lab setup, off hours, using non-proprietary open source data. The company was granted a conditional, non-exclusive license, a license that is automatically terminated in the event of my employment suspension or termination for gross misconduct. I turned my eyes to Miranda. When Miranda handed me the suspension notice yesterday morning, she legally severed the company's right to use my algorithm. If you present that proposal to Mr. Weber today, you will be committing international intellectual property theft. Klaus Weber raised an eyebrow, a slight, approving smile playing on his lips. He turned to Arthur. "Is this true, Mr. Vance? Is the core energy optimization model not owned by your firm?" Arthur was sweating. "Mr. Weber, this is an internal contractual dispute. We can resolve this immediately." "It is not an internal dispute," I interrupted calmly. "It is a structural failure of corporate governance. Yesterday, this board was ready to sacrifice me, my reputation, and my life to protect a false narrative, simply because it was easier to blame a woman than to investigate the truth. Today, you offer me money and a title because you realize you cannot steal my work without me." I walked up to Klaus Weber and handed him a separate folder. "Mr. Weber, this is my independent consulting proposal. My algorithm, my technical team, and my strategy. I am resigning from this company effective immediately. If you wish to secure the energy grid optimization model, you can contract directly with my newly registered firm, Miller Analytics. My rates are higher, but my ethics are non-negotiable." Klaus Weber took the folder, flipped through the first 3 pages, and stood up. He offered me his hand. "Ms. Miller," Klaus said in his crisp, accented English. "We came to this city to buy the best technology and work with the most capable leader. It was clear to us from yesterday's news that this firm was a sinking ship of incompetent bureaucracy. I am delighted to do business directly with you. My legal team will contact you by noon." He turned to his colleagues. "Gentlemen, we are done here." The German delegation gathered their papers and walked out of the boardroom, completely ignoring Arthur, who was practically choking on his own words. "Chloe." Arthur slammed his hands on the table, his eyes bloodshot. "You destroyed a $200 million deal for this company. We will sue you into bankruptcy. We will destroy you." "You're welcome to try, Arthur," I said softly, picking up my briefcase. "But before you file that lawsuit, I suggest you check the front page of the Financial Times website." "What?" I released the full audit of Miranda's off-books expense accounts to the press. An hour ago, I smiled. It turns out she wasn't just covering up Bella's mess. She was laundering funds through vendor accounts, including ones linked to your family's shell companies. The Securities and Exchange Commission will probably be here before lunch. Arthur's jaw dropped. Miranda slumped forward, burying her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I looked at them one last time. The heavy, suffocating weight that had crushed my lungs for years, the memory of cold concrete, the sound of sirens, the sight of my father's tear-stained face, was completely gone. I turned around and walked out of the boardroom, my heels clicking rhythmically against the marble floor. 2 weeks later, I sat in a high-rise office overlooking the harbor. The glass door read, Miller Analytics and Consulting. The room was filled with natural light. On my desk sat a simple framed photograph of my mother and father, smiling happily during their trip in the mountains. My assistant knocked on the door and stepped in. Chloe, the legal updates for the Vance/Lynn cases just came in from our attorneys. Put them on speaker, I said, leaning back in my chair. My lawyer's voice came through the desk phone. Chloe, here's the final roundup. First, Bella Lynn. She was formally indicted yesterday on multiple counts of fraud, workplace extortion, and filing false police statements. The sugar daddies she tried to blackmail have all pulled their legal support and are cooperating with prosecutors. Given her prior records and financial fraud, she's looking at 3 to 5 years in state prison. And Marcus? I asked. Marcus filed for an annulment and paternity fraud lawsuit against her. He's completely broke after paying off the damages for smashing the corporate lobby. And his social media channels have been permanently banned for online harassment. Last I heard, he moved back to his hometown to work at a local gas station, disgraced and completely ruined. What about the company? The SEC raid hit them hard, my lawyer chuckled. Arthur Vance was forced to resign in disgrace. Miranda Blake is currently facing federal fraud and embezzlement charges. She won't be seeing the outside of a courtroom for a long time. Tyler Carter was fired, blacklisted from the energy sector, and is currently being sued by the company to recover lost commissions. Miller Analytics has officially been awarded the primary contract for the European energy grid project. The press release goes out tomorrow. Thank you, David, I said. Great work. Enjoy the victory, Chloe. You earned it. I hung up the phone. The office was quiet. Outside, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees along the avenue. The sun was warm, shining brightly over the city. I stood up, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, and raised my coffee cup toward the sky. In my past life, I was a victim of my own kindness, destroyed by monsters who mistook soft-heartedness for weakness. I had let them push me to the edge of the roof, believing that dying was the only way to escape the shame. In this life, I didn't step back. I didn't jump. I built my own sky, and left them all in the dust beneath my feet.